Okay. Okay, so good morning, Meriem. This is Serena. I'm a program manager
Good
in
morning.
Platinum Global Solutions. And on behalf of Platinum Global Solution, I would like to welcome you at our series of online interview session. And thank you so much for your time and effort which you took for this interview. And thank you so much for taking our time. And before we kickstart our interview session, Meriem, I would like to have a brief introduction about you, your professional career, and your area of expertise in which you are working. So, Meriem, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me. Very nice of you. So my name is Meriem Loudiyi. I'm an IP counsel, head of unit within the trademarks and fight against falsification department of Les Laboratoires Servier, which is a French pharmaceutical company. Among other duties, I'm in charge of the fight against illicit online sales of medicines. And before that, I practiced as an in-house counsel within the Procter & Gamble company and then moved to a French law firm before joining Servier.
Okay, that's great. So, that's perfect. So, Mariam, let's move on to our first question. So, tell me, what do you think about the ongoing global pandemic situation, and what's your take on its impact on businesses worldwide?
Well, unfortunately, as you know, we're facing a global crisis of an unprecedented scale, which affects all the countries where we are present. We are present in about 150 countries. And in these countries, there have been successive periods of confinement, deconfinement, and we have put in place different actions, and which involve a global approach at the group level and local adaptations on sites and on, in subsidiaries. And since the beginning of this crisis, our main concern, the main concern of Servier, has been twofold, to preserve the health and safety of employees and to continue to ensure the availability of drugs for patients. And even if this health crisis is a rupture that has seriously affected our lives, our projects, and our work habits, it's good to see that it has also demonstrated the ability of the group and of everyone actually to adapt to this new situation, and also everyone's impressive involvement. And the crisis has also accelerated the reflections which were already engaged within our group before the crisis on the evolution of ways of working. And it highlighted the importance of the quality of the social ties, the cohesion, and the performance of the teams. And I would like to say a few words, if you allow me, on the impact that this crisis has had on the traffic of fake medicines, because this pandemic actually opened new opportunities for criminals, which were already running illicit trade networks before the crisis. Unfortunately, they have also been very agile, and they have also adapted to this new situation. They took actually advantage of this global pandemic, especially at the very beginning, because there were new issues such as shortage of personal protection equipment, the fears and anxiety from the population, from ourselves, the new behaviors of patients, etc. And this led to big seizures of fake masks, gels, vaccines. And to give an adapted answer to this criminal illicit trade, we pharmaceutical companies have also partnered together and with law enforcement authorities through different operations and initiatives that will be detailed in my presentation.
Okay, so great. So, Mariam, according to your experience, briefly explain the current situation of IP industry and what's your forecast related to this?
Well, it's interesting to know that the 2019 figures, which predate the COVID-19 pandemic, underline a growth of trademarks filing before the WIPO and the EU IPO offices. And despite the COVID-19 pandemic, or maybe due to this pandemic, companies have to be even more innovative and to adapt once again to this new situation and to this new world. And it is crucial for them to use intellectual property rights, which do play an important role in the creation, the dissemination, and the use of new knowledge, for further innovation. And when it comes to the pharmaceutical area, IP is also used for the benefit of patients. And I would like to mention a specific initiative which took place on April the 26th, so very recently. It was the World IP Day. And Servier, with 25 other pharmaceutical companies, have jointly announced the launch of the IP Pact, IP Principles for Advancing Cures and Therapies. which is a statement of 10 key principles that reaffirm the pharmaceutical industry's commitment to innovate and also keep the needs of patients at the heart of its intellectual property practices. And one of these principles is to use IP rights actually to facilitate collaboration and to enable partnerships that will advance global health. And of course, these principles have a particular resonance in the current context of this, global pandemic and crisis.
Okay, that's great. So wonderful. So now, as a company, as you're working in Servier, so what changes you have introduced in the overall operations and businesses strategies in these challenging times, and more importantly, how these changes are going to impact the future landscape of your company?
Well, obviously, several changes have been introduced within our group. The development of the remote working, I have already mentioned it, of course,
Yes.
but also our active participation to solidarity actions by our teams with dozens of initiatives in 35 countries. These projects are varied and include, for example, the loan of laboratory equipment or the donation of personal protective equipment, but also financial support to foundations and also the contribution in time to the health reserve and NGOs and associations. There has also been some volunteering from our medical staff with a salary continuance. And there is also the Servier's participation in the Health Innovation Coalition, which regroups professional associations, hospitals, startups, and pharma companies, which actually joined their forces in France to create this coalition to find and deploy digital and medtech solutions to support chronic patients. And Servier participated in this initiative and sponsored solutions that were deployed to help patients with, cancer and heart failure.
Okay, that's good. That's impressive. So, lastly, Meriem, what are you expecting from this e-conference, and what valuable insights our audience can expect from your presentation?
Well, actually, I'm expecting to learn from my peers, to hear, their experiences and their advices on their own IP strategies, of course, especially, in this specific period. And from my side, I will provide some insights on the risks linked to the illicit online sales of medicines, and also will talk about how to tackle this issue.
Okay, that's quite interesting. So thank you so much, Meriem, for your time and effort. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much, Meriem.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.